Alright, so this is the big one, Kadesh. This is the largest scenario in Chariots of Fire, and it's not big. I mean, if you compare it to, some of the SPQR2 mappers or anything. But Chariots are complex, and I've taken a little bit of a break away playing a number of other games, just so that I can forget everything I know. We got some interesting things going on in this one. First of all, a little bit on the historical background. This is perhaps the battle that is most imprinted on the historical record, because Ramses II, who was very impressed with himself, had a lot commemorated about it in various forms. So he posits himself as some sort of hero in it, and perhaps he was. He certainly was at least a respectable military commander. What you have is a situation where the Egyptians are coming up perhaps for a prearranged battle against the Hittites at Kadesh. There have been battles here before, and there will be again. It's a key location, a city located right there between the rivers, and, well, a river and its tributary. And, quite far from the center of both empires' power. Well, at this point, the Hittites have moved their capital south, abandoning the Hattusha, because it's kind of hard to tell just why. It looks like the empire is actually collapsing due to internal problems in a lot of ways. But they're still able to field a tremendous force, larger than the Egyptian force. Now, of course, Egypt has a long way to go here, too. And this is sort of the middle ground between their empires. The Hittites kind of swung over everything rather rapidly, destroying Babylon, etc. But when they met Egypt, a certain stasis developed. Anyway, for the battle itself, what you have is the Egyptian forces have deployed into camps, preparing for the battle. Supposedly, Ramses was informed the Hittites aren't even here yet. Oh, well, let's wait for them. Well, that information supposedly comes from plants in his organization. Now, there's a lot of evidence that the spy systems for these great empires were actually fairly sophisticated. And instead what you've got is this huge Hittite chariot force. And this is a mixed force, chariot, 3-man and 2-man chariots, ready to ambush this mixed force. All of the Egyptian divisions are going to be mixed, of chariots, some shock infantry, and even if you look closely, a barbarian infantry here. We also have, very interesting here, if I can peek at these, we'll see them in effect, and not those. Here's some more barbarians. Some Nubians. Here under Ramses. These Sheridan, who are the beginning of the Sea People. Very early Sea Peoples that have already been captured by the Egyptians and put into their own, into military service as sort of an elite unit. Now this is heavy infantry, which has some different values. I haven't seen them yet, so let's take a peek at what they're like. I don't think they have special rules. Now the RI and BI have the special rules, the runners and barbarians, of the aggression. I don't think the heavies have that. I forgot all about that in an earlier play. It was pointed out to me. Hey, what's the effect of that on this? Nothing, because I didn't think about using it. And it would be a strong factor to help defend these faster infantry against the chariot attack. Now this aggression reaction, yeah, just RI and BI. So mainly we're going to see the effect of the heavy infantry in the charts here, and we see one thing: they have as heavy an armor as the charioteers against the missiles, and in fact they're a little better against javelins. Zoom in there to see these numbers. +2, +1, +1, and against slingers. So slightly heavier armor there. And then when we see what they're like here, well, they're good at defending against the chariot twos. If the chariot twos attack them with shock, and they've got a defensive superiority against the shock and barbarian infantry. We'll touch a little bit more on some of the information about these as we go later, especially into the Trojan scenario, which I think I'm going to have some disagreements with, but that's okay. And then if we look at their charts tend to be very, very good, and the charts against them tend to not be so hot. So they're going to have a significant advantage in shock combat against most everything, and they have a high tactical quality on the counters. You can see they're 7s, so they should be a potent force in this sucker. Now, this scenario has a lot of little special rules because of the situation that's set up. First of all, it's got 3 different scenarios associated with this battle. 2 historical ones. One is a meeting engagement. 2 historical ones which are treated as a meeting engagement. Somewhat of an ambush. Now the question is, how ready were the Hittites? Is this just a probe across this tributary, or is it a full-blown ambush? And I'm doing the full-blown ambush. Every one of the scenarios, all 3 of them, favor the Hittites in the battle. Now, in order to represent this, most of the forces, the Egyptians back here, the Hittites over here, the Hittite infantry back here, huge force that never made it to the battle, and Egyptian reserves, ones that came in a little too late to save the day, and then another set of Egyptian reserves that probably didn't even make it into the battle. And there are no rules for bringing them in the meeting engagements, but I'm thinking I might fiddle with this. I don't know, just kind of make some shit up as I go. These are all in reserve, which means you can't even activate them now until later. Activating the reserves may be different for each group. For the Hittites, activating the reserves is based on time. So, let's see. The reserve chariot is once everything here is active, which it all is at the start of this ambush scenario, and across the tributary. They have to have made their attack against that one division. The Royal Bodyguard is actually later, so I'm going to shift these around. I've got the Royal Bodyguard on the road. I don't want them there. If that's the case, they're just going to cause problems. And they can only go after the reserves have gone and crossed the tributary, which is this. They don't have to worry about this subsequent tributary, I don't think. Oh, no. I am worried about that. Okay. Muwatalli, the Hittite commander, who knows how it was actually pronounced, right? Who I've got on the top there. He can only operate once the Royal Bodyguard's operating. The Hittite infantry require that the 4 chariot divisions that start active are activated. I can bring them in no matter what. And they enter kind of in one unit behind the other, as though they were actually deployed on the map. Some games don't deal with that specifics. What about for the Egyptians? Well, for the Egyptians, their activation... yeah, I haven't mentioned how these are actually activated. The way these guys are activated is you spend your momentum marker to basically throw their activation marker in for the next turn. I think the Egyptians work the same way. They made the annoying... No, the Egyptian divisions are actually thrown into the cup at the beginning, and they can be activated when they're drawn. And then you'll see, you can't tell here, but these units are actually overstacked up to 2 chariots per hex, 2 infantry per hex. That gets fixed when their activation chit is drawn. They deploy to the field, but they can't do anything else. So their first activation is to react to this attack. Now let's look at some of the other effects here. The Egyptian camps. There's 2 little, you can sort of see some of the terrain sticking out here. There's 2 little camp markers there. What those are going to do is if Hittites go into them, first of all, they get a penalty for attacking into them. But the well, it's sort of a mixed thing. If the units are in reserve, the attackers attack superior, but the Hittites get a -2 to the die roll anytime they attack into the camps. And then if they're in there when they're activated, they face this looting roll, which is going to be a roll against their tactical quality, causing a number of hits equal to the difference in the roll. Now, let's see what else we have. The first 2 activations of the game, the Hittites get the initiative, and they get to pick 2 of these 2 activation markers for this unit, for this those commands. Those 2 activations come with a surprise factor, which gives them doubled the movement allowance. It doesn't seem to affect their chance of chariot tipping, wherever that chart is, which affects them as they cross the river or push through those woods. So, and obviously if they turn. So that's going to be kind of a problem there. And then they also get all their attacks as attack superior off those activation markers. And I've pushed their heavy chariots, the 7-pointers, to the front there so that they can make shock attacks, because their light chariots don't have runner infantry. Only the Egyptians have the runner infantry here. The last scenario that we did, I think there were runners on both sides, weren't there? But that was... I don't know. There are some runners here, but I think they're stuck somewhere else. Maybe I'm wrong. The Hittites may have no runners. I don't know. Now I'm lost. Alright, let's see if the Hittites have any runner infantry. Yeah, it doesn't look like they have any runner infantry, which is kind of strange because the prior battle they had some. And in this one, they're foregoing them for a full chariot army for the most part, with the infantry all scoping over here. And we've got no special stuff here, no barbarians, no heavy infantry there. So the Hittites are fighting with kind of what seems like an archaic force compared to this kind of new force that the Egyptians mount. I think we have heroes on the field, because I've got dudes. Oh no, that's the replacements. So sorry. Okay, that's what it is. Right. You would almost think that there should be, though, if Ramses did what he did. Supposedly he charged right into the battle and rallied the Egyptians. And, well, you kind of want that heroic aspect, but maybe it doesn't make sense. Let's see what else we have here to talk about. So anyway, the there's a number of different different terrain here. The river is not crossable by the chariots. The city itself, nobody can enter it, but it serves as a rallying center. I shouldn't have given the Hittites a flag, I think. I gave them one. They're supposed to have one. Muwatalli is considered stacked with the standard for rally if he's in any hex adjacent to Kadesh. Okay, well, I don't know. Because he's not allowed to set up next to it. He's got to be across the river. So it doesn't really seem to serve any purpose to have that rule. Okay. And then the other option between the two, hey, here's what we think the historical battle was like. Go to, all right, here's what might have happened had both sides deployed for a battle, which in a sense probably fits. Seti had a big battle here a few years prior against the Hittites. It probably was very similar to this, although you might want to take out the those Sea People units. They're kind of unlikely anyhow, but anyway. I guess I call this an intro for the battle, because I'm gonna not actually start until I start. This took longer than I expected, so up it goes.